So let's start with Liz Cheney real quick. She finally went down. I mean, historians are looking at this. This is like the worst drubbing an incumbent has ever taken in congressional history. But the fact that Gateway Pundit has a story saying that she's padded her income by $36 million. These guys make $170,000 a year. This is like Pelosi kind of steroids with the options. I guess she's flipping stocks. Her husband's at a big law firm. But we see this all too often. You know what, Joe? No one's going to investigate this. She's going to go quietly off into the sunset. She's going to run for president. And she made $36 million in 6 years.
Yeah. I shared this with a friend last night who's kind of in the middle. And, everybody's sick of this. It doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat. If you're doing this, Americans want it stopped. They're supposed to go to D.C. to represent us. And obviously they're going there to pad their own pockets, and it's disgusting. We saw a similar situation this past couple of weeks ago with Pelosi going over to Asia, bringing her son along, not announcing that he was coming along, and then saying that she didn't do any business deals, and yet we know that she had an off itinerary meeting with one of the largest companies in the world in Taiwan. So it's happening all the time, and Americans want to see it stop.
Yeah, and thank you for all of the work that you're doing at the Gateway Pundit, because you're one of the few outlets that will cover this, and it just seems like such a globalist agenda. We see her going to these foreign countries doing business with family members. We could go back to the Bidens and Hunter Biden and this overseas business. Is this really all about, the World Economic Forum, the forces behind these things that drive this sort of globalist push? Is that what it's about?
Well, I think to some extent, Karyn, certainly money's involved. So there's this massive pressure that if you don't comply, we're going to cut off your pocketbook. If you do comply, on the other hand, then you could become a millionaire. And that seems to be the case. And the leaders in the cause really roll in the money, whether it be big pharma with the vaccines and the billions they've made with those vaccines, or example after example. This is happening around the world, really. And it's pretty scary, and the problem we have right now is we have an administration that appears to be part of it rather than one that's standing up for the American people. It seems everything that we see with this Biden administration is anti-U.S. and pro-China, pro-World Economic Forum, pro-everybody else but the American taxpayer. And that's why we're seeing such abysmal numbers in the economy, and the perceptions of Americans are just at really rocketing lows right now with the economy. So it's a sad situation right now in the U.S. And quite frankly, that's the cost of having an election that never should have been certified. And Ed, I'll just make a little plug here for my book. So I did just come out with my second volume, and it is the Steal, and it is The Impossible Occurs. So my first volume was like a setting the stage. Second,
absolutely.
Book at Amazon. I see it's #1 bestseller in a certain category this morning on politics. It's about what happened, and my thesis is, from being a professional international executive auditor over in Hong Kong for 10 years and doing audits around the world, that this election never should have been certified, ever. And I provide all sorts of evidence from an auditor's perspective of this has happened, this happened, this happened, and I share stories about this, and you'll see, no matter which area you look at, the machines, the ballots, the drop boxes, the people, the processes, everything was broke, and we cannot have this happen again, or we're going to have more of this, where we have the outsiders like the World Economic Forum and China just raping the American people and stealing from this prosperity that our ancestors have given us. And so this book, I hope it's an avenue and a tool that people can share with other people to say, hey, look at this. This guy's a professional. He looked at it, and his professional opinion is this isn't right. It never should have been certified. And by the way, President Trump looked at my first volume and gave me a real nice memo, and I shared it in the beginning of my book, saying, hey, Joe, great job. It's a great book. You're accurate. It's true. The election was stolen. Look forward to volume 2. So That's coming out. It came out yesterday, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
So
wow,
it's already,
great.
because when I went to Amazon, I saw volume 1. So now volume 2's out. So people can go to Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com. I encourage everyone to go out. Get the real story, because we get the real story every day from Gateway Pundit. But tell us what's brand new, because I want people to go out and buy it.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. So I really kind of tried to cover about 8 areas, and like I said, as being a professional auditor, what you do is you look at the people, the processes, the systems, and analyze this whenever you're looking at a process. So I started from that angle. I started off with really this perception that, hey, this election was done when they forcefully prevented Americans from viewing and reviewing what was going on in those election centers. When people were kicked out there, it was over. This election needed to be stopped, and we needed to really either start over, which probably was the right answer, or figure out the ballots that have been processed during this period, which probably was impossible. And so we should have probably started over right on November 4th of 2020.
Yep.
But people looked the other way. And then I talked about the ballot drop boxes, millions of ballots that came into the process that we have no idea where they came from. There should be a chain of custody. Same thing with the process of verifying these ballots. There was no signature matches on a lot of this. Wisconsin doesn't even do it. So here, millions of ballots that came in, we don't know where from, and we don't know who from. And yet we certified this election. And then the machines, even the Democrats before the election were saying, hey, these machines, they're vulnerable. There's processes people can take. Bad actors can sneak in here and steal elections. The Democrats were saying that. People like Kamala Harris and Adam Schiff were saying this a year or two before the election.
Right.